Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another Dear New Mums video. I'm currently in Daisy's nursery. She's just on her playmat in front of me. We're also packing to go away. Bless you! Hence all of the items in her cot. They're not usually there. So this one is going to be all about the stuff about your baby that no one tells you, or that I feel no one tells you, that just no one talks about. Oily hair. If your baby has hair, there's good chance it's going to be oily for a long time. I would say probably until about 10 weeks. Daisy's hair was like, it was an oil slick, and it didn't matter if I washed it the night before, it would just be oily, and it just shows up so bad in dark hair. I feel like we associate oily hair with like being unhygienic, but you don't need to bath a newborn all the time anyway. But like, I wanted to bath it and wash her hair, but anyway, it took care of itself for about 10 weeks. Toenails, oh my god, her toenails are so gross. They're like ingrown, and I don't know if they're gonna be okay. The nurse says they're gonna be okay. I think it's kind of normal. But yeah, just beware that they're toenails. I don't know if it happens to every baby, but far out. It's just mainly the big toenail, but it's like so ingrown, it does not look okay. Skin shedding. They shed like a snake for the first couple of weeks. I want to say month or so. It takes a while for their skin to stop shedding, and it just needs to happen. There's nothing that you can do. You definitely shouldn't be picking at it. Just, if anything, like at bath time, just use a flannel to, you know, wash their skin, like exfoliate it lightly. Don't go in there too hard. And the other thing is you can moisturize, but make sure you get a pH balanced moisturizer. I feel like a lot of people don't know this. Oh, she's just talking so much. But baby girls, newborns can have a little like period or a little bit of blood, and they can have discharge, and that's completely normal. Daisy had one tiny little spot of blood that Dean noticed, but she did have quite a bit of discharge, and that's just all of the hormones exiting their body. So it is completely normal, and I think all the discharge probably went away after maybe like a week or so, or 2 weeks. I know that when one time Dean's mum changed her, she was just like, does she have thrush? And it's just like, no, like the discharge is normal. But yeah, little baby girls can have periods. I had actually heard of that before I gave birth though. Baby acne. I had a few people ask about this. Dean's dad actually asked about it. She had baby acne, and it would come and go like between days sometimes, but up until maybe like 7-8 weeks or so. And sometimes it just looked really angry, but it has completely cleared up. Excuse the suit that she's in, it's hideous, I know, but like her skin is just like perfect now. It does feel like a little bit rough sometimes on the cheeks. Her skin's like perfectly, like she doesn't have acne anymore. So the thing is, make sure you get your newborn photos within like the first week, because I feel like it comes in maybe after a week and a half or 2 weeks. So just in time for your newborn photos, like to have them. Yeah! Cradle cap. This actually came on her forehead, and then it was there before it actually went through her scalp. Cradle cap is like really dry skin. It can often be mistaken for eczema. She just had cradle cap and it cleared up. Well, I mean, I feel like she's still got a little bit on her head, but it was so bad all over her forehead, and like also the skin is shedding everywhere. Yeah, it was not pretty, and it's something that you should just leave alone again. You shouldn't pick at it. That might have cleared up around the same time as the acne, maybe a little bit before, maybe around like 6-ish weeks. But it was, yeah, just on her forehead, but she still has a little bit on her scalp. There is something to treat it as well, but we didn't need to use that. Oh, thrush. So I didn't know that babies can easily get thrush. I had to be on antibiotics because I needed them for my wound about, I think it was about 6 weeks or so, and the doctor didn't tell me, but the midwife or the nurse told me when we had her visit, saying go on some probiotics while you're taking the antibiotics so she doesn't get thrush, and they get thrush in the mouth. So If you go on antibiotics, definitely get some probiotics, but that can be really easy for them to get. This next one, this one's really a hard pill to swallow. It's called purple crying, and it's basically a reason for no reason your babies are crying, if that makes sense. So your babies just cry for hours for absolutely no reason. They don't need to be fed, they don't need to be changed, they're not tired, they just cry. And it's normal, which is the shitty thing. So just Google purple crying and it'll give you a link. If not, I'll try and remember to put the page of information down that I read that the nurse gave me. It's just not ideal, but it can happen. Oh yeah, your baby can actually talk and you can understand it. There's this whole baby language. It's called Dunstan baby language, and hopefully I'll leave a video down below, but there was this interview with Oprah. I'm not even kidding, it works. It takes a while to understand what they're saying, but when she goes to neh and she curls her tongue like neh, she's hungry. And when she goes yeah, she's got a tummy ache. And when she needs to burp, and I know when she's laying down, like if she's trying to go to sleep and she needs to burp, because she makes those little noises. It is insane and it will help you out so much. I don't know why no one talks about that. I heard it from a friend who visited me, I think 9 weeks or so. Okay, so in Australia, wherever you are in the world, this is just how we do it here. We have a maternal health child nurse visit, but for the first couple of visits you have a midwife from the hospital until you go through the system and everything. I knew about the visits, but I didn't know what could happen if there's like something wrong. Daisy actually lost 8% of her body weight, and I think if it's over 5%, then they're like worried, and you have to feed them for extra longer and give them top-ups. And I feel like no one really talks about how stressful that is. You're already dealing with everything else going on and the hormones that are raging throughout your body, and then all of a sudden your baby needs X amount of formula every 3 hours, and sometimes it can take an hour for them to feed, and they need to be woken up if they're asleep. You need to feed them, and then if they only feed for this amount of time, then you need to top them up with this amount of formula. And there's all these different options, like if they feed for this side of the breast or this side of the breast, and like it's actually so stressful. I know I'm like kind of glazing over it, but honestly, like it was so hard, and especially being the beginning of parenting when you don't know what's going on. So just a heads up, if you do, I feel like the percentage might be different throughout hospitals and states and things. And then in the end, she wasn't putting on weight like a normal baby, and it was just like we were doing everything right, and she just doesn't. She's just a small baby. And the thing that I took away from it is I wish I just trusted my gut and just stuck to breastfeeding her, or you know, feeding what she wanted, because my body makes enough milk for her. Not anymore, but at the time I just needed to trust that. And instead of doing formula top-ups and pumping and things like that, because I was just so fixated on she needed to have 60 ml, and it ruined my breastfeeding journey. I can't even talk about it, I'll get so upset. But just a warning, if they push you to do things, trust your body, trust your baby, and you know, like that's all you can do. As a first-time mum, I didn't know any better, but yeah, I wish more people talked about that, because it was a very, very stressful and hard time, especially with like, you know, you're trying to enjoy your new baby, learn all these things, and it just put like a real dampener on things. Okay, so I knew that there would be a lot of washing with a newborn and a baby in general, but man, the sheets, like every day it felt like you'd just change them and then she'd spew them or she'd have a blowout, or she'd wet through them. Like I think I had 2 sheets for her bassinet, and you need at least 4. And like it just, oh. And I started out doing the whole method of having the mattress protector sheet and then a mattress protector and then sheet, and in the end it didn't work because I was washing them so much anyway. But we do cheat a little bit and put terry toweling across where her head is now, so we just wash that and then only wash the sheets like every week or so. So definitely get more sheets than you think you need. Tummy time. I knew about tummy time, but I didn't know that you should be doing it like straight away. So like, you know, as soon as you get home, start doing tummy time, a couple of minutes like every day, and then gradually build it up. Most likely your baby's not gonna like it, but you can find ways around it, like putting them on your chest or putting them in a rolled up towel or on one of those bobby pillows. Try and work your way around it, but yeah, start doing it really early so that when the nurse visits and they're like, are you doing tummy time? You're like, yep, I am, because that didn't happen for me. So I had gestational diabetes with her, and after birth I didn't actually know. I knew that they would test her, but I didn't know how they did it and everything. So in Victoria, I don't know if it's different everywhere in the world, but in Victoria they have to do 4 tests on her after she's born, and what they do is they actually prick their heel and they get blood and then they take it and test it, and it can be really just like not nice for you to see like them pricking a baby's heel, and it takes weeks for that to heal as well, like this, you know, the scar from their feet being pricked. So with the tests is they have to pass all 4 tests. If they fail any of them, they have to restart. With Daisy, she passed her first one, failed her next one, so then they had to do them again, and I think that they test them every either 2 or 3 hours. So the nurse was just like working really hard with me to help me express colostrum so that she would be okay, and thankfully she did pass them after that. Yeah, the next round. Let's talk poo. I think I bought 1 or 2 packets of newborn nappies because I was told by a friend like, oh, you won't need them for that long. She only just changed them probably in week 12, I think, but she is a small baby. But I did not realize how many nappies, like Pooey nappies, they go through. I'd heard from a few people, I feel like, that they don't poo very much at the start, and that is false. She was doing poos all the time, like you just change her and she'd do another poo, and like every single nappy was a pooey nappy. And then you get to about 8 weeks and the poos just go, and you're like, what's wrong with my baby? She's not pooing. But they just progress, I guess, and she only poos when she's awake now, or like, you know, when she's being fed or her awake time. So someone's usually with her, so we know that she's got a pooey nappy, and then yeah, and then we change it after we know that she's done, because she'll do one and then she'll usually do another one or 2 more, so you just give it a little bit and wait for it. But she stopped also pooing overnight, and then all of a sudden it was like 12 hours between poos, and it's just like, oh my god, she hasn't done a poo. So I talked to a health professional, and she said, I wouldn't be worried unless there's mucus or blood in your baby's poo, or it's been like 4 days. So just so you know, heaps of pooey nappies, and then all of a sudden a lot less pooey nappies. So the headbutting, yeah, so like it's when they start to get their neck muscles. And when was it? So she's 13 weeks now, so it was probably like 10, 11 weeks. And I was just like holding her, trying to burp her, and I looked over and she headbutted my lip and into my teeth. She's not doing it right now. And then she got me again on the nose. She's headbutted me so many times. Like, you have to be so careful, or just like hold your head, but wait for the headbutting, because it happens and it can really hurt. No one really talks about headbutting, but I assume it's only maybe for a short time, I don't know. And the last point is the dummy. I've seen a few mums in groups and they're like, oh, she takes a dummy, that's so good. Mine won't take a dummy at all. There's good and bad points. Good points is when she's crying, I can shove the dummy in and it most likely stops. She's not as bad as she used to be now, but early on, she would just spit out the dummy all the time, and I'd be in bed and I was recovering from my C-section, and I'm like, oh my god, if she spits out that dummy one more time, I'm not getting up to put it back in. She would just sit there for like half an hour, keep spitting it out, and then she would cry at the fact that she spat it out. And even now she does it quite often. She spits it out and then wants it back in. So it's a good and a bad thing. Whereas if you don't have a dummy, you don't have to get up out of bed constantly to put the dummy back in because they just spit it out. Yes you do. Yes you do. You've been such a good girl for me. Yeah. And that is all I have right now for a newborn. Yeah, so with the dummy, it's up to you if you want to use it. I'm still happy with the fact that we have a dummy, and I did read that it does actually assist with preventing SIDS. So I don't know, I'm happy with the dummy. Yes, you're happy with the dummy, aren't you? There we go. That is all I have on my list of things that I feel no one really talks about with a newborn. Some real hard facts for, you know, if you're a mum-to-be or if you've got a newborn and you're watching this and you're like, yes, yes, yes. So I am going to continue this Dear New Mum series. Leave your video suggestions down below on topics maybe I can talk about, because I just love being real with you guys about things like this, and I want to talk about the stuff that no one talks about to, you know, make it more aware. Like I talked about infertility when I was going through that, when I feel like not a lot of people talked about it, not a lot of people opened up about it, and it was kind of like a negative thing. And you know, I showed my journey of it, and now on the other side, motherhood. It isn't a walk in the park. There's a lot of challenging things, and there's a lot of things that might happen. You're like, oh my god, I didn't know. So yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.